Okay. Any other additions? Okay, that is item 3. Thank you very much. Jacob, you have that addition?
Yes, that's correct. I believe technically we have to have a mover and a vote just to accept those as part of the...
Okay, well, we have those 2 requests as agenda addition items. I would like to see someone make a motion to accept.
I will make a motion to accept.
So that's
not sure who that was.
Christine, Carey, and
Yep,
Amanda.
Christine.
Fantastic, and we don't need a seconder, so thank you for that. All in favor, which we might not do as well on this committee, so we're going to carry that. Is that good? And we can move on to number 4, which is presentations, deputations.
I wonder what I would suggest is that Jacob could probably quickly run through the list of members who are on the call so that you have an idea.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
After that, hand it over to the GM. So Jacob,
thank you very much.
Terrific. Okay, so right now I have obviously myself, Amanda, Brandon, Chris, Cindy, Laura, Councillor Rabbits, Christine, Laird, Nick, and then I have a 443 number that is calling in.
And that would be myself, Wanda Heimbecker.
Okay, perfect. I assume that was the case, but being a former reporter, you never want to assume in that business because
absolutely not.
And does anybody else, I believe that's everybody we've touched on? Beautiful.
It appears. Okay, thank you. All right. Seeing that item is now been reviewed, presentations, deputations, item 4. A, we have new Norfolk County General Manager of Planning and Development, Brandon Sloan. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, and hi, everybody. Hope you can hear me fine.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's glad to be here. Just brief introduction, and I had asked Chris if I could attend your meeting because I'm excited to meet more people, see all the great things that you're up to here in Norfolk County, and so I'm really looking forward to this. Over the last 20 years, I worked at the City of Kitchener in different roles in planning, and we were on the same floor, and I worked quite closely with economic development folks. So I've spent some time over the years on various initiatives with economic development advisory committees. And, you know, in Kitchener, the economy really evolved and progressed and it's skyrocketing right now with all the tech that's going there. So it's a little bit different here, but I'm excited to see what's happening in this area because there's quite a lot. And I think some of it maybe needs to be showcased more. And so I'd like to learn from you about that and find ways that we can tell our story here and get that story out, because I find the more you can cascade that story out, it just has so many ripple effects for people that want to invest in your community, people want to move there, people want to, and of course, visit here. That's something you definitely have over Kitchener is the tourism, except that maybe Oktoberfest is that 1 week. But so I'm excited. I'm also excited to try and do what I can to help Chris. Chris has been is remarkable, dedicated. He's doing so much right now. So I'm hoping we can help with a little bit of internal retooling that's happening and give some guidance and direction. And I'm sure really rely on the expertise around this board. So thanks for having me. And I hope it's okay if I listen into the rest of the meeting because I'm interested in a few of these topics that are coming up as well. So thanks, and hopefully one day we'll meet you in person.
For sure, welcome.
Absolutely, Brandon. Welcome to our community, and thank you for joining us. I know KW, there has been quite a generation of construction activity in their downtown revitalization, also the implementation of a little bit of a tiny homes initiative, which is a bylaw that was recently passed here in Norfolk County. Were you involved with any of those pieces, if you don't mind a question?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was the project lead actually for what we called Queen Street Placemaking Plan. Downtown Kitchener has King Street, and Queen Street was the historic commercial area. It needed to be reimagined, so I was the project lead for coming up with we called it a placemaking plan, basically a streetscape plan, and for like closing laneways and redoing parks at either end. So we were actually able to leverage, I think we leveraged a $300,000 investment from the downtown BIA into a $2 million project there. That's going to help the businesses and generated more investment now on the properties that are adjacent to that. And then the tiny homes, yes, that was under my project direction, and we were actually, just when I left, we were going through a process where we had come up with some pretty neat ideas of how to do some design competition and have some of those tiny houses built and help with affordable housing and have a quick, efficient process. So we'll see what's happening with tiny houses here as well. I've also had the privilege of being in a tour of downtown Simcoe from the BIA on Friday, so that helped get me acquainted as well.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions for Brandon from committee members?
I had one.
Chris, I'll need your eyes on this.
Oh,
Ian's got one.
Ian here. Okay, sounds like I'm recognized. So I had a great tour with Brandon downtown Simcoe with Ryan and the BIA. We were looking at some buildings, and it was nice to see Brandon out. And it was there was a little bit of a buzz, a little energy around Brandon, if I may. He's come on, and he's got a little bit of an aura to him. He's not on the screen now. He might be.
Thanks.
He would be blunt, but
too bright.
He's come with some energy. Honestly, he's come with a little bit of energy with him, and it might be that we've got him in his honeymoon phase. He's just got a brand new job, but I have to say it feels like you got some energy, and Chris is an awesome resource to TDAB here. We all really value having him on our board and providing us with updates and being our liaison. He's really done a great job, and I'm hoping, Brandon, that you're going to have a role with TDAB as well, because this Tourism and Economic Development Advisory Board, it needs some help in terms of staff and resources, because we've got a great group of volunteers here that serve, and they're from all over the county. So we've had an experience to see downtown Simcoe, and you had a lot of great things to say at that meeting that I think extend to other wards in the county. And I'm hoping that you're going to have an active role with our community in this board. And I was hoping maybe you could just share with us, maybe as a vulnerable moment, tell us what really got you involved in planning and, what's brought you to our community.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor Rabbits. I mean, I'd like to see some of the, do some tours of some of the other communities and areas as well. I see a lot of opportunity. I think and you've gone through a lot of change here, but as I'm walking around and looking around and going around, I'm seeing opportunity. And one of the things that's driving me as well is collaboration. I think there's some great minds here. There's some great people here. I mean, that's the main thing. One of the main things that's driving me here is the quote unquote community and the community feel, and people that know people and connect to other people. And if you can put all that together, that's really when you start to generate ideas, innovation, creation, where you have all of these things and they intersect, interact, and collide. So I'm hoping that we can have more of these positive collisions. What really got me into, urban planning was probably a little bit more community based. And so I like working with the community I like imagining. I think about the future a lot, and we're going to need to do some future proofing, of course, and resiliency. But I like working with the community. I don't know. I guess that's why I'm more built for the public sector. So that's kind of what got me into it, and imagining the future and then trying to make it happen. So looking forward to it.
And I believe that there was someone else who had a question for Brandon.
It's Christine. It was a question, comment. I think, Brandon, what I'm excited to see with your coming on board is I agree that I too was drawn into this area because it's got the raw materials here are phenomenal. It's someone with a vision, like just put a vision out there is what I guess I'm looking for. And I know not putting you on the spot today because that's totally unfair, but what I would like to see is someone kind of put together, a vision. And then I love the intersection and collaboration of ideas that kind of go like a Big Bang theory and go wham, and it all comes together. But there's got to be that starting point nucleus. And I think there's been a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of suggestion. And I'm sure Councillor Rabbits and Chris can probably compile a list of surveys, feedbacks. I don't know if as much has changed in the last 12 to 18 months in terms of, yes, we've had COVID, but I think some of the same frustrations are still there. So I guess you've got a great resource around this table. I'm sorry, folks, I'm speaking on behalf of you. Maybe I shouldn't, but there's not a person on this committee that isn't here, A, voluntarily, and B, because we're all passionate about this community and we want to see some great things happen, and we want to share our wonderful joy and love for this spot by, I say it's coming together with a vision. So as faster you can get to that, and any help any of us, I think, can be to help you craft that. I don't think anyone would say no. We'd say call, doesn't care what time, night or day, well, with reason. I think we'd all kind of like 2 feet in going, yeah, this is sort of where I'm looking at, because people are coming out of the GTA, Hamilton area. Real estate markets are hot. My lawyer's daughter bought a house here. She said, where has this place been all my life? And I'm thinking, just down the road. So you're right. It's an awareness factor, but it's that vision. And there's some really great natural resources here, including in the community, that if we can put it together in a really cool vision, we can all be really effective here. So welcome on board. I'm really happy you're here.
Thanks, and see that positive energy is already cascading, and
Absolutely.
Everyone's already pumped up and ready. I mean, it's good to be honest. It's a challenge with what's happened with COVID and the pandemic. So the next few months are going to be about the now. What can we do now? Help get businesses get back up and running, and get things kind of rocking and rolling, and then can start to turn the attention. And I imagine we're going to have to pivot a little bit from where things may have been a few years ago with economic development strategy, but into next year, if there are ways that we can align things with the community and council priorities, look at the future, come up with something that's simple but engages people, engages everybody that wants to get on board. That's what I find. If you can keep the strategy simple, 2 or 3 key things, here's our goals, here's our actions, let's go do it, kind of thing. And then there's other things that will add up to it. But I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet.
Well, welcome aboard. I hope you feel that the red carpet was rolled out and the rose petals thrown. And I know there was a fantastic story in Simcoe Reformer as well. So I think you'll find our committee more than enthusiastic and positive about supporting any kind of economic growth and positive outcome. Any other questions? Chris, as my eyes. And by the way, I am trying to still connect through Microsoft Teams. Any other questions for Brandon or Mr. Sloan?
No.
Very good. Well, welcome aboard. And that leaves us moving on to item number 5, approval correction of meeting minutes. Please take a moment to review those. These are the minutes from June 22nd, 2020.
While you do that, Wanda, would you like me to send you an invite again to the meeting, and you might be able to join that way?
Sure, if you can, and if you can
Okay.
send that to my manager at mcahamiltonniagara.org
Okay.
email. Yeah.
Hi, it's Michelle.
Sorry,
Oh.
Wanda, just to let you know that Michelle has joined us now.
Hi,
Oh, fantastic. Welcome,
I'm
Michelle.
sorry. Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't have my computer. I was waiting on my husband, and he got here a lot later than I expected. Sorry, guys, but I'm here now. So
That's okay. We're a team. We're just on the item number 5, and the committee members are reviewing the minutes of June 22nd and looking for a motion to approve those, and then we can pass the baton over to you.
great. If you want to continue to chair the meeting because you started, you're more than welcome to. I don't know if it's difficult via phone instead of Microsoft Teams, whatever you prefer, Wanda.
You know what? You're fine to. I'll pass it over only because it's good to have eyes at the meeting, and Jacob is resending the invite to me, and we'll see if I can join.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are on approval of meeting minutes. Has everyone reviewed them? Did we need to probably have one person move to approve them?
That's correct.
Any volunteers?
Cindy?
Okay, and we do have someone taking minutes now, right? I don't need to take minutes.
Yeah, I'm on it. You're all good.
Okay, sweet. Sorry, I'm only seeing initials. I'm not really seeing names. So there's not as many pictures as last time. So perfect. Okay, awesome. Great. So we can go on to number 6, communications. So phase 2 reopen.
3.
I guess phase 3 reopen. It says phase 2, but phase 3. Who would someone from the county like to speak to that? I think. I mean, I guess it might be nice to also, I guess, phase 3 reopen. I'm very, I'll speak, I guess maybe I'll start the ball rolling in a discussion about it. But from my view, I'm very excited. We had our first wedding on Friday, so it's like really feels like phase 3 to us now. Yeah, phase 3 is, I'm very, very proud of Norfolk County for moving that timeline ahead with the mask, at least a decision on it, whether it went one way or the other. I think that really shows how you guys can all come together as a council and get things sped up when there's feedback from the community. So great job on that, Ian, and the rest of council on getting that timed with phase 3. I'm very happy to see that. And I think that puts us on par with a lot of the other counties in the area on kind of at least showing that we're preparing for keeping our community safe during the phase 3 reopen, which is a big step from phase 2. It is intimidating, I think, to a lot of business owners. But I think there's a lot of support from what I've seen from the health unit. They always answer my calls really well whenever I have questions about stuff. So I feel like there's quite a bit of guidance when you reach out, which I think is great. Yeah, I guess, does anybody else want to take over next? You can't really see the hands, so.
Cindy?
Okay, Cindy.
For the first time, I'm actually happy to say that the Port Dover Board of Trade sent out through their counselor a whole spiel to the businesses, so we know now what to do, and there's an attachment of a letter as well. I mean, not a letter, a poster to put in the door saying that you do have to wear a mask coming in. And as far as I understand, it's that the businesses have to come up with their own policy. And as a person, like I'm retail stores, that my person behind the cash doesn't need to wear one unless they can't social distance. So everyone coming in does, but the staff itself, and I can put in exceptions, for instance, if they're trying on clothes or if you're eating or that kind of thing. And we have to have the policy available for anybody to read, and in case a bylaw person comes around. I don't know if that's right. Is that mostly right?
Is there anything available Norfolk County wide from that? Because I just literally saw stuff on social media. I haven't really had anybody reach out to me with anything from the county specifically before, you know, even announcing it, I just saw it on the internet.
Do you want me to email you what the Board of Trade sent me?
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean, is there like,
Because
yeah.
it's from the
Ian's put it
county,
in
I think.
Ian's put it in the chat.
oh, great. Awesome. I
Okay.
haven't seen it come yet. I've only seen the last message I saw was Brandon Sloan.
It should be right before yours. So maybe, you know what? Maybe if we just
Oh, I must have missed it. Sorry.
No, can you
That's
see
okay.
it?
Cindy
Or
can
do you
send it
need
over.
down further. Okay. I just did it after.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura.
You're
And
welcome.
Jacob.
And just,
Great.
I think it's pretty clearly laid out there.
Great.
But in terms of communicating that information, just so that, you know, in the interest of keeping things patrons safe, it might be a good idea that if every BIA, every chamber, every business had it on, I'm willing to post it on Venture Norfolk as well. The more places we can have that poster overall saying what the rules and regs are, from a search engine optimization perspective, it kind of gives a little bit more bang for the buck. If someone's looking at what's going on in Norfolk County, then these procedures will come up and it might make people feel safer to come this direction.
It might be also good to send out something to the tourism and economic development mailing list, because I know that does reach a lot of businesses, just so they do, just in case it kind of went over anybody's head, because it has only been a couple days, just to see kind of exactly the wording for it in case, instead of people going off of, you know, repost on the internet. So
I'll commit to putting it out to our client base. I mean, we're all over the map and it's a private one, but I'll put it out for everyone to make sure they know. But just from an SEO perspective, it's just the more places it's all consistent, the better for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Do you think it's possible to create like a template for the policy that could be sent out to businesses and they can just kind of tweak it as needed? I just think that would be so helpful.
Agreed.
And I don't know who would do that.
Okay.
I think that is what has been proposed, that you have a template, you go to the link, you download it, you make it your own, you can just adopt it exactly as is. But yes, that is exactly what the process will be.
Great.
I think it said on the email that that would be available next week.
Great.
I think is what it said. Yeah.
Understanding that this moved very fast from, we're going to be mid-August to happening on Friday. So like, you know, that's great movement really quickly. So
is it possible?
Here, I just wanted to share that through the Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce, we've been receiving all types of templates. One has been the COVID operational plan, which each business, it is a template. And so if that is helpful, I am happy to circulate that to the committee. And pretty much because we are all required to have an operational plan. And then from there, it just identifies all the appropriate areas for reopening.
Great. That would be great.
Okay.
Is there any, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ian.
Hi, Ian here. Yeah, so I'm glad that I gave everyone sort of a chance to chat about it, because it was great to hear, you know, your feedback that there is some resources out there. Yes, there's still some unknowns in terms of a county policy, but ultimately, if a business owner were to share the bylaw and inform on the key points, you'd be able to craft a fairly concise document that would be a couple pages in length or a couple slideshows in length. Honestly, if you want to do it by PowerPoint for your staff, you post the sign and then you have them sign a training document. So that's another key component, just to make sure you got your paperwork that they've received some training. And we do want to approach this from an education standpoint. We're not trying to put an imposition on business. I realize there's a pretty steep fine in the bylaw that I was unsuccessful in removing, but it is written in there. And we even heard from our own staff, our CAO acknowledged that it's not truly enforceable, and it'd have to be pretty egregious if someone was flaunting that, you know, they don't respect the bylaw, they're not going to do the training, no, they didn't have their staff sign something. You know, someone would have to be pretty willful in not posting the sign or not training their staff or not having the bylaw shared or some form of it in order to get that $1,000 fine. So I understand that puts hairs on the back of people's necks, but the reality is it's not truly enforceable, and it's not really the intent of this bylaw. It's there to educate, and you do that by crafting a policy, posting a sign, and having your staff sign off saying you delivered that to them. So the long list of extensions are all there, and I've shared with you the website. I imagine we'll get some templates there going, and you'll see Norfolk County's policy, which will likely be very detailed. So, for your purposes, you're not running a multi-million-dollar corporation with, the public sector and all these different agencies involved. For your business, it might be something to piggyback on, but it might not have a lot of fidelity to certain specific industries or even niche businesses that you and many of the business owners and the different associations your memberships of would really find great benefit in. I think if you were to do some basic research on a PPE related policy or a personal protective equipment related policy, you'd basically be able to do that, because it's a health and safety sort of training component. So if you have that health and safety person in your business, they'll be able to give you a pretty concise document that it doesn't have to be as threatening, as intimidating as it is. It's essentially informing not only your patrons, but your staff members that there's a bylaw, and having them sign a form.
So is it August 3rd then, or is it moved up?
It's August 3rd.
Yeah, August 3rd. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
As far as I am aware, it is live August 3rd.
Okay.
Ian and/or Chris, it's Christine. I'm wondering, is there, if a business in Norfolk County were interested in getting additional PPE, so masks, sanitizer, gloves, do we have a list of local providers in Norfolk County for this, or at least hold of a Norfolk or something that we could say at least buy local for that? Or is that even a concern for people? Not a concern? Okay.
I don't think so.
I know that earlier on there were a number of names floating around, and when we start sending it around, everybody said we can find PPE. So I don't think it was an issue at all.
Okay.
I think additionally, like from my perspective, there's the supply chain issues aren't necessary. Like you might have a list of people, but then half of them are out of something, and the other half are out of another thing. You just it would be virtually impossible, I think, to keep that list fully up to date of what you could get where, kind of, from at least my perspective of trying to find, enough sanitizer and enough masks and enough everything.
I would just hope that if there was an opportunity to support our local manufacturers, kind of like Doug Ford's Made in Ontario, and trying to get us to support, it would be nice to take it one step local on a micro level. That I'd hate to see it coming in from China if it can come in from across town. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
So from my perspective, it's Laura.
Okay.
From my perspective, PPE is becoming more of a concern for people, and I echo what Michelle says in that different people are running into other things. It's also becoming a cost concern, right? So the cost of gloves have almost like quadrupled or even higher. And I have a company that's supplied them forever, and they said when they're getting them from China, they're not even getting an accurate price until they land in Ontario. And then it's like, if you still want the 100 boxes, we have them, but here's the price now. So it's really a bit of a moving target. We also did some surveys with our client group, and consistently the one message was accessing PPE. And I think it's also partially that burden of the cost on that. And there was just some funding that was announced specific to companies with revenues between, I know the minimum, I'm just trying to look it up and I'll send it in a link as well. So it's called Canadian United Program. And it's specific to helping businesses fund PPE. So I can certainly send the link on that as well. But that it definitely is something that we're seeing as an issue. I think the good news on that is we are starting to see companies that have pivoted, and we'll start seeing the Canadian and Ontario made product be available locally. But there has been a lot of hiccups and issues with that. But there's certainly hand sanitizer is the one that seems to be lots of options, but you do need to be careful about that on what's in the hand sanitizer that you're getting, as most of us have probably been in a store and put it on and went, oh my God, this stinks, right? So that's when it's actually technical grade, but not medical grade. So you have to be careful on that too, especially if you have clients who might put it in their mouth or might be sensitive to it and that as well. So I did stick some links in there, but happy to help on that because we've definitely been doing a lot of that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. So thanks for all the feedback on that, everybody.
I do have, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can't see. Sorry.
That's
okay.
okay.
Yeah. There we go.
I haven't figured out my spacing for this yet. It has to do with my vision. About the phase 3 opening, suggestions and ideas about getting the word out. I know that at one point there was the marketing program that we collected, the county collected some dollars on. Is that going ahead? Has the money been refunded? That pool sitting somewhere? Is there anything brewing at the county level to do any type of outbound marketing to let people know that we're in 3?
The funding from the marketing partnership program will specifically be going to marketing of the tourism products. That's how those people who have contributed to the program, which is a specific list, bed and breakfast and so on and so forth. We have also applied for funding through the RRRF program. We were successful in our application. We are in the process, and it's the CAO that's leading this charge, and we are in the process of developing a plan, a program for promotions. All these funds must be spent by the 31st of December. So you can imagine that, well, we have already committed to a number of other things, but yes, there will be a lot of things being rolled out as the CAO finalize the plan.
Thanks for the update. Okay, anyone else? Okay. So let's move to communications B, Long Point parking, exchange of ideas on how to be more welcoming and reap the economic benefits of our lakeside communities. And who was going to be speaking to that? Sorry.
I'm the one who actually asked that to be added to the agenda. Just because every year we seem to go through the same thing where a couple of people, not representing the majority, come forward from Long Point to council and bring up the same thing, the same arguments for the past 4 years, that parking needs to be removed from Long Point, you know, because they want the beach to themselves, blah, blah, blah. And it's just the whole message that not just Long Point, Turkey Point, I mean, we're very hot. People are looking for some outdoor activities. Parking is very controlled right now, and it would be complete mayhem if it were to be taken away. They don't even realize. I've had people talk to me, Ray Ferris from the real estate board, and that has been talking, and he's sent letters and things because in the past, like way long time ago, they had no parking. And so they literally were all over everybody's front lawns, and, you know, it was a nightmare. So I guess the message is that tourism and our beaches are one of our biggest assets, and tourism is an actual industry, and it all links to the wineries and the shops and the downtowns and the whole package. And we need to have a lot more of a welcoming, not a get the hell away message. Because if you go to Port Stanley, yes, it's busy, but they're having a good time. They're all social distancing. The businesses and the restaurants and the owners all work together. If you go to Port Burwell, even, it's smaller, but they've got beautiful parking for the people. You know, all along the lakes, they seem to be a lot more welcoming than we are. So I guess it's just, I thought we need to sort of address that. Not now, we're, you know, weeks away from all of a sudden there won't be anybody on the beach, but maybe it's something that as the whole tourism focus, we move ahead with the new boss, that can be part of the strategy in the whole tourism message. That's all.
Absolutely. Would anybody like to speak to that?
Ian,
Yeah, I was going to say, Amanda, you were shaking your head a lot.
I'd like to just
Sorry, go
I can't see.
So, Ian here. It's hard when there's no hands raised.
I know.
I'll yield the floor. Does someone else want to speak?
Yeah, I think Wanda, is that right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry, no hand to raise. And,
No, that's all right.
Yeah. I just, to add to Cindy's point, just observation, when we are starting to see other municipalities promoting the tourism experience. And I guess for us to learn a little bit more about how our department moves forward, what guidance are you looking for? Is it working directly with the health department? Is there a protocol in place? I just know that we've had this conversation since June. So I think for us to become more knowledgeable of the process as to when we can message and what those steps would be helpful. It would be an education process for us. Yeah, because we are seeing other municipalities inviting tourists. So.
And Amanda was next, I think, and then we'll go to Christine after Amanda.
Awesome.
I can see it,
Yeah.
Christine.
I'm just having fun. Sorry.
Just an observation I've noticed with running our tours and just being at the wineries, I am just absolutely blown away by the people from Mississauga, Toronto, KW. They're coming here, they're visiting a couple wineries, and their big destination is the beach. So they're coming, nothing is going to stop them. They're coming here regardless, which is fabulous. But I think if we could still kind of just say, hey, welcome, if there's no parking, like I just think we could be a little bit more organized in our message, that we're kind of like, we're open for business, come visit us, here's what's happening. I just think we could get better messaging out there.
Christine next.
All right, I'm all for bringing in tourists who leave money is, I think, the big thing. I know people. I'm experiencing the Turkey Point situation where we got folks from Brampton, Mississauga, right, peeing right in front of me, in front of a beach full of kids, leaving tampon applicators on the things because there's nowhere to go, and picking up garbage. So, I get that's all part of the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's going on. But what I'm seeing is an opportunity, even just for bylaw enforcement. You got cars parking one way on the street, another way on the street, cutting off the pathway that 2 years ago you would have gotten a massive fine if your rear view mirror was even over the white line of the pedestrian walkway. Now you got people. I had people parking side by each all the way up to the line. If they opened the door, they'd have knocked someone out. So I think part of the revenue generating part of it is, if there's a way. I know Premier Ford nailed Barrie first for charging $25 or $50 for a day of parking. Last time I went downtown Toronto, 3 hours of parking cost me $30. So that's to a Toronto person, a $25 day rate is nothing for a day in the sun. The opportunity unfortunately for bylaw infractions to issue tickets, there's a great way to make some money. It may not be tourism friendly, but it certainly is a way of getting some money out before they leave. Because right now, the way I see it is there's a lot of mayhem and a lot of cost to Norfolk County. And I don't think these guys, they're not necessarily, I see it, they're coming and they're leaving at daylight and that's it. They're not buying the fries, they're not buying a drink, they're bringing all their stuff, they're crapping up the beach and then they're moving along. I see it every weekend. So, and again, I don't own the beach, it's not my beach. I say that right now. People want to enjoy it. I think it's beautiful. But right now, there's got to be a way of selling some kind of a ticket or a parking pass or an entry, because I couldn't leave Turkey Point last weekend. The lineup was all the way from Turkey Point Road to past Nellie Bowers, like of trying to get out of Turkey Point, because they come down, they turn right to go join the line to get into the parking for the beach. You couldn't leave. Like, we couldn't go. And I know Long Point had a situation where a tree was down and there was one way in and one way out. So the traffic congestion is an issue for fire and safety. It's an issue for the residents to get in and out. And heaven help if there's a fire or something, we'd all be a little bit in trouble. Or if you needed an ambulance, that just wouldn't have come. So I'm all about bringing people in, but there's got to be a managing way of doing it. And the burden on the bylaw officers, the garbage, and it's been great. They've been doing a phenomenal job of collecting the garbage. And I'm going to say residents are usually, that's the joke, your cup of coffee and plastic gloves, and you go drink your coffee, pick up some garbage, go back on your place. So we're helping too. But the parking, if there's a way to manage, like even just spots on the road that you can manage and pay for some kind of a metered, like a ticket situation where they can ticket it, at least you can get some revenue that you can put into tourism development. But right now we're not, they're coming, which is great, but I don't think we're making the money we should be relative to the higher incurred costs.
Okay, and then Ian, sorry you were left to the end. Did you have something?
That's all right. The politician doesn't mind having the last word.
I'm going to go after you, so I'm actually taking the last word.
The chair should always have the last word, by the way. But no, I'm listening to everything. Great conversations. I honestly, I couldn't agree with Cindy more in her presentation of facts with the parking situation at Long Point. It has always, we've had the same discussion over and over again in my memory of council and in past councils watching. So we've always had that dynamic where a group of a few homeowners are trying to dominate the conversation throughout the entire peninsula regarding the removal of parking spaces and trying to make that a private beach. But it's a commercial strip, and there's a bunch of thriving businesses there that we can support by having more parking, not necessarily less, in my view, but doing it strategically where you don't have, you're not reaping any benefits, and then you have all of the extra to pay for with the garbages and the hand sanitization and the porta potties. And so if you're going to have traffic, try to manage it intelligently. And I'm hearing around the table there is an appetite for paid parking, or exploring paid parking, not only in Long Point, but in Turkey Point. And it isn't a revenue generating mechanism. It's to support the traffic flow and support the bylaw enforcement, and to supply the garbage cans and the amenities that allow for that level of traffic. So we're providing free spaces, and yet we're not providing any revenue sources to pay for these things. So that in my view, it's a problem that's been around for a while. And parking, it's not going to pay for itself, but we should have a way to offset some costs. And that's something this board can actually do, is put forward a recommendation to explore paid parking options in Turkey Point and Long Point. And this is something that our staff in Norfolk County are already doing. So to nudge them along the way to say this is something that the board supports, I'd be willing to put that motion forward to explore paid parking options in Turkey Point and Long Point. And I think it's something that's positive that could come out of our conversation today if it were to be supported. I've heard a lot of good arguments for that, and I'd be interested in hearing maybe more from board members about putting forward a statement to either the council as our advisory role or through staff to that effect.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to ask if the county's ever investigated park and ride for the beaches as an alternative to the parking downtown, because that does also limit the amount of stuff that people bring with them when they come to a beach as well.
Like a shuttle?
Yeah, like an extension of Ride Norfolk, but
Friday the 13th.
Exactly. So just kind of like it would be in Port Rowan kind of thing, take you down to Long Point, take you back to your car. Like when I was over in England, I did that every time I went anywhere. There was always a park and ride stop outside of town, and it was really widely used. I know culturally it's not as common here, but for beach situations, I think it's quite an appealing thing, because you're really just with half the time you're just with your bathing suit, a towel, and like something to play in the water with. So
I've seen that happen on a micro level at actually Port Dover Harbor Marina. There's a couple folks that will drive golf carts up, or they have a little shuttle service that actually gets people from their boats just down to Port Dover Beach. And I thought it was kind of neat. It was kind of a fly-by-night operation. But that just shows you that there's folks from outside our community that do just want to get bussed into town, so to speak, or bussed to the beach and back to their boat or their cottage or wherever the drop point is.
We do already have an existing infrastructure that a lot of small counties don't. Like Norfolk is much more developed than a lot of other counties have as very rural transport. And like, to me, if you charge for parking, it's also great to offer something like that as well, because people will make the decision to do park and ride if it's a bit cheaper than parking, kind of thing. So they kind of go hand in hand. Cindy?
I just wanted to say further too, I don't want other communities to think that, hey, it's all about the beaches and not the rest of them, because I know for a fact there are businesses, for instance, Wholesome Pickings in Delhi will tell you without a doubt the majority of her business on the weekends is people going to the beaches. They pick up their items on the way down. And you got to figure that in Simcoe and that, the restaurants and the coffee places and gas are getting it after they leave. They are then getting those things on the way out of town. So it is beneficial to everybody. I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, our patio on Saturday, the only people I didn't know that were there that weren't clients or whatever, they were going to Long Point Beach. There was like at least 40 random people that was the only reason they were there, and they saw it online and were like, oh, cool, I'll stop in and do this. So.
Well, just think of the opportunity for marketing. Right now, we probably have 3 weekends, Saturday, Sunday, with thousands of visitors, and they probably didn't leave with one piece of paper on their windshield letting them know what else they can do. Mm-hmm. Like, there's an opportunity for marketing there.
Or like, some signs for, exactly,
and I think that's, and I mean, part of it too is in managing the social distancing and how much, Long Point's a bigger beach. It's got a lot more space there. I'm assuming so, even with the high water levels. Turkey Point Beach is a lot smaller than it used to be with high levels. People are jam-packed in there, and that's another story for maybe the health unit. But I think right now the opportunity to show people that it's more just than about the beach. Here's better signage going in and out. Let's face it, there's only one way in and out of Long Point, and pretty much only one way in and out of Turkey Point. Expanding those boards of what else is going on, like the Welcome to Simcoe boards. If you had those going up and down those roads, there'd be a real opportunity, I think, to showcase and feature things just for the people who are coming on to the beach, to get them into other stores and restaurants and things around the county.
Great. Yeah. So I think it sounds like everyone at least is probably ready to, like, maybe we can just do a little vote first on, do we want to come up with a statement to the county on supporting a paid parking solution, or maybe not. That's probably the basic thing to do. Who is in support of coming up with a motion for council on paid parking in beach communities in Norfolk County? And I don't know how to do this with not being able to see some people. So Chris can't vote, James can't vote, Jacob, can't vote, and Laura can't vote. So Wanda and Brandon can't. So Wanda, are you still there?
You bet.
And Laird, are you there?
Yes.
And Laird, are you a voting member, I assume, right?
Yep.
Yes, okay. So verbally, Laird and Wanda, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, so everyone is in support of that. Okay, great.
Yep.
So sometimes we had help drafting these in the past, but who do we like to say? TDAB is in support of the council investigating paid parking solutions in beachfront communities in Norfolk County. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah.
Jacob will put his touch on it. You just need to get the idea out, and then Jacob will put his touch on it.
Okay. And Wanda, I know you're very good at wording that stuff. So do you have any improvements upon what I said?
No, perfect, Michelle.
Okay, simple. Okay.
Michelle, can you just say that once again?
Oh, sorry, I just got to mute you for 1 second. There's a quad driving behind me. Okay, all right, I'm good. So TDAB is in TDAB
Supports.
Norfolk County investigating paid parking solutions in beachfront communities in Norfolk County.
Michelle?
Yes?
Are you going to include, are you going to expound on anything as it pertains to this suggestion for the shuttle and so on and so forth? Or you just want to keep it very simple?
Okay, let's do one little quick vote. Does everyone want to add in
The
I'm
shuttle.
forgetting the word. Shuttle. Park and
Shuttle?
ride?
Yeah, park and ride.
Park and ride.
It's a
Cindy?
great idea.
Yeah, I like the idea of the park and ride. I think people identify with that actual terminology. The shuttle, everyone poo-poos right away, but
Yeah.
the park and ride is actually maybe the way to say it. They know what that
Okay.
is. Yeah.
And so then we'll include paid parking solutions and a park and ride solution in beachfront communities. Okay, sound good, Jacob? Well, this is the most concrete thing we've done in a little while, guys. This
I know,
is
it's really
great.
exciting.
Yep, all good.
And I saw a lot of dancing going on there too. by
Yeah.
some members.
We have
Trying
to
to
do it on our own
generate
computer
energy.
screens because we're not allowed to do it in public anymore. So
That's right.
great. Okay.
So just to
Any
clarify,
other feedback from anybody?
Michelle, are those like one in the same? Like, so the park and ride and paid parking, or are they two separate things?
I would say they can be investigated separately, but could both exist. One exists, the other exists. But I think both, like, I think we're all in agreement, both should be investigated. In my opinion, they kind of go hand in hand, because if you have free parking, no one does park and ride. And if you have, yeah, so if park and ride could be free, could be paid, whatever. But to me, park and ride goes hand in hand with paid parking, but it's not required to do paid parking. So.
Yeah, and the only concern that runs through my head right away about the like the park and ride is the cost to run that. I mean, there's some cost recovery, but typically those things don't make money.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, like, I think this is just like a suggestion to investigate it, and it could make no financial sense, and that might be why it doesn't exist in a lot of beachfront communities.
But the upside to it is for those businesses and residences where this is an issue. I'm sure the counselors would appreciate less phone calls from angry residents. So that might be the upside to it.
And it could also foster businesses in non-beachfront communities. So it could, in Port Rowan, it could even actually encourage business where the stops are and you know, out of the downtown core of it, kind of thing. So.
And just some general thoughts.
Yep. Yes. Ian?
Sorry, just some general thoughts I had is it doesn't necessarily have to be like a Ride Norfolk offering the service. Yep. We could potentially be selling a business license for this. This could be a new business. So there's a number of different angles we could look at that. We could be creating an opportunity here and not necessarily burdening the taxpayer or even competing with the private sector. We could be talking about creating an opportunity for someone here. That's the way that I look at it. So I think our staff would look at it that way too. They'd bring a number of different options back to council, possibly to consider. Those are my thoughts.
That does make a lot of sense though, Nick. Like the costs would be obviously like the biggest barrier to anything like that. Absolutely. Anyone else would like to speak to that? Chris?
Yeah, the investigation will bear out all of this because Ride Norfolk might have some amount of gap in there that this is the perfect filler for what they have, and was always a gap that was giving them some issues in terms of overheads, and this is the perfect solution. You never know. When the investigation will bring out all of those things. So let's investigate, and then after that, whatever the findings are, that will lead us to where we need to go.
Yeah, because there's always sponsorship opportunities and wherever they park, you know, there could be advertising or whatever. And the shuttle does exist, so maybe it becomes a part of that. So yeah, I agree that it's just sort of the starting point, and then the things will evolve from there.
I also just look at it from a public safety issue. The incidences of drinking and driving, like drinking literally while driving, has been over the roof and through the, like, it's just been insane. So if this would help alleviate, you don't have drunk people driving down those skinny little streets with kids all over the place, running all over the place. It really is a safety factor.
Laird just asked, what is the price of parking all day in these beach centers? My understanding is no cost, but does anyone else have any different answer?
Turkey Point charges in the provincial park charges. I'm not sure.
The provincial park charges in that one parking lot. Yeah.
But otherwise,
but that's only about a quarter of the parking, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyone else like to speak to this, or are we ready to move on to the next?
Next.
I'm happy with the result to that, B. And Cindy, I assume you are as well?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Economic Recovery Task Force. Chris Garwood, I assume, will be addressing that one. So go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so just an update that we've basically approached a number of folks in the memo to council and last council meeting. We had proposed the names of the people who were going to be on the task force. The community stakeholders that were identified and that were put forward are Michelle Clofer, and she will represent this committee, and a number of tourism and manufacturing and a number of different things. We had put forward Mike Fredericks of Annex Printing, Trish Fournier, and she's on the Agricultural Advisory Committee board, and Carl Atkinson, Claire Senko, and Doug Cadman. Where we were at is the thinking was that after the first meeting, the chair of that committee would be able to add one more person to the committee. That would be basically the group could come together and select one. We are lacking experience in law, so we were looking for a retired lawyer because there were specific resource background we were looking for, and the one that we have not yet filled was the legal background. We have sent out a few invitations, and we're hoping that we will get someone that could represent us with a legal background. The announcements have started. There was one today. So the federal government has decided that $19 billion was going to be going to the different provinces for the different municipalities. And today, Premier Ford announced the $4 billion funding. What has been a challenge is that the funding are being announced and the details behind them takes a while before it's hashed out. Today it was funding for municipalities and transport. When the federal government made the announcement, it was similarly very loose. So when some of the funding is being announced, it is very specific to long-term care or transportation and so on. And then another time the funding might be announced and then the details are not there. So I was following up on today's announcement, and it was coming out in the news where a lot of the mayors were saying, okay, when will we get the details as to what this money is going to be covering and the structure? Is it a partnership, or we have to come up with funding, or so on and so forth? So until we know those details, we have to just proceed with what the task force is set up to do. And what it's set up to do is to look at these bold infrastructure capital projects that is going to propel us forward. So we have some challenges as it might be, as it pertains to, it might be water or whatever the case is, whatever is hampering our development. How do we address some of those so that we can start moving forward and moving the community forward again? So most of the projects we have already, as I said before, shortlisted a number of projects that are shovel ready. So the first meeting of the task force will be this week, and we will go through the projects and then start to reach out to different committees and bodies to say, all right, what are your suggestions? So as I mentioned before, I would encourage the TDAB, the board here, to start thinking of projects that you think should be considered and that are going to be important and that we should be thinking of adding to the list to be deliberated. What will happen is that after each of the meetings take place, I will bring back an update as to what the decisions have been or what the deliberations have been, so that you will be kept in the loop as to exactly what we are discussing. Any questions?
I just have a quick, I can't see, wait, somebody's hidden behind my notepad. So, oh no, there we go. I just had like 2 quick questions. One was, is there any like youth type person on the board at all? Or is it kind of more older experts and stuff?
You're the youth, Michelle.
I am the youth. I am usually counted out of that group. So, okay. Okay. And also, I was just going to see, just because I think the timing is just a tiny bit off with our committee and the meetings for that it might be good as an action item to just see if everybody could forward, if they have any ideas, so we could maybe we could at least have a list together of things that people on the committee, our committee, TDAB, think that would be worth addressing by the Economic Recovery Committee. I just think the timing's too off to wait till our next meeting to really get anything together. So it might be good if everyone could just forward those into Jacob. Could we all forward them to you to put together and disseminate, maybe, just so we kind of all have an idea of what page we're all on? Is everybody okay with that? Do you think that's a good idea? Waste of time?
Whatever works for you guys.
I think what I'd suggest is that people, as you start thinking about it, things will pop right up. And for sure, I think if you send them on to Jacob, and then even if we have to do like an email around to say, here's the list, do we shortlist it, or are these suggestions fine? And then by the time we get to the next meeting, we ratify it, and then I take it to the insert meeting, because I think the majority of the meetings are going to end up close, I think, last Thursday of every month for the first 3 months. So at least we still have time to bring it there.
Okay, so okay, so how about we say, if anybody has any ideas or suggestions, send them into Jacob by this Friday, maybe. And then we can circulate and kind of at least get a basic idea in the meantime. And then I can suggest at the meeting on Thursday, potentially having an update from TDAB or any feedback from TDAB on as an agenda item at each meeting. I would, if that would be possible, that and probably Agricultural Board might be a good idea. So I could provide an update from us on any suggestions or any feedback specific to what we've been discussing, if that works for everybody. Silence
Michelle,
means.
Yep. No, good idea.
Maybe.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So just wondering about, is it, Chris, question for Chris, is it just a wide open idea thinking, like brainstorming, or is it, are there some parameters that we should consider when we're formulating our ideas to put forward?
I would suggest that you think along the line of capital projects. So for example, when I was speaking with the BIA folks, one of the first things was, you have this big building downtown Simcoe and it's whatever, make sure that something is going to be done with this building, or make sure there's some kind of consideration for this building. You know what I mean? So I would suggest that you think capital project.
And are they looking for, like, what kind of timelines, like years are these projects being looked at for? So like,
Good
is it
question.
like
So
2-year window, 5-year?
Yeah, we are anticipating that it will be only 2 years. In 2008, it was 3 years, but because it was a much bigger program, they had to extend it for, I think, 8 months. So we are anticipating that at minimum it would be 2 years, or might be 3 years. So whatever you're looking at, it's as a long-term project that would end up in 2021, 2022 before it's done. Usually what happens is that you submit a project and you said, okay, and this is just plucking something out of the hat. Let's say you say, we're going to build a hub. We're going to build this. And they say, okay, this project cannot exceed X amount and must be finished by December, this amount. So they usually put the guidelines to the project so it doesn't run away and it doesn't get out of hand. And then our delivery would be to bring that project in budget, in the timelines. That's how it was done in the past. The SARS was a little different. The SARS was kind of more loosey-goosey. The stimulus package for the recession was kind of very rigid. So until the government kind of outlines to us, this is how the approach is and this is how it's going to be done, we're not too sure. So what we're doing is we're looking at both of the stimulus packages in the past and kind of adjusting to say, if it goes this way, we'll do it this way or whatever. It is very difficult to plan when you don't know the very strict guidelines, but we can't wait until we know before we put our task force in place and get ready. The minute we know this is how it ought to be done, we need to hit the ground running.
Makes sense. Great. Any other questions for Chris?
So yeah, just a point of clarity.
Yep, Christine,
So
yep.
Chris, what you're talking about is to focus on capital projects in Norfolk County.
Right. And
that will help existing businesses get on track, or is this like a longer term, more strategic type of thinking?
It's a longer term, more strategic kind of thinking. In the announcement, they call it shovel-ready projects. When you hear the word shovel-ready projects,
yep.
And one of the things that they have said already is the engineering must already be done. So those are some of the indications that you use to say, okay, this is where they're going. The engineering must be done, they must be shovel-ready, and so on and so forth. So there are other funding, like for example, the Rural Recovery Fund, that's
yep.
different. They say, okay, here's, for example, we got 245,000 and say, this must be spent by this time and you need it to do this.
Yep.
That's different. All of those we will keep applying for, and those are more business focused, are helping the local economy. So like, for example, with the grant, they say you must have a buy local campaign. You must be hyper local. Those are the guidelines that they give you for these kind of grant funding. What we are talking about when it comes to NSERT is the big, bold infrastructure programs that you have to you have to have a project management. You have to manage a program. They have to come in on budget, kind of a thing. It's, it's kind of, it's like when you're building these big things.
Yeah. So does the county have a short list of projects that, this is my wish list, and there's a list of these types of projects that you've already got in your head that we can just garner more support around? Because certainly I would imagine that there are some strategic projects that are part of, again, the vision, part of what the plan is, that, you know, like, for example, you mentioned it, the hub, like that is a project that applications have been made for. Yes, it caused a lot of wrinkles. No one's talked about it since, but you know, if it was important then, one would argue that it's important now. And is that like a project example that we should maybe focus this energy on to get that project over the finish line? Because those big, huge projects, like engineered, like are there any projects in the county pipeline right now that have engineered specs on it that are shovel ready?
Yes. So what we did is we asked finance to go through all of our projects,
Yeah,
and to rank them and to identify which ones are ready to go. The hub would be so many years down the road, it wouldn't even be considered. I just use that as a whatever you understand. But shovel ready means that engineering would have already been done on the project. That is what they use. They said our guideline for what is shovel ready is that the engineering section of the project must already be done. And I can't remember if they said within how many months of the announcement we have to break ground. So it's what we would refer to as eminent. We have a number of those that we are going to present to the task force to say, here's a list of what we have in the county. And then, so we have a list to start with.
okay. Because I think without that list, it's a moot point.
Yeah, and the thing is, that list is not even a short list, it's a long list. And I think, to be honest, I mean, we will get rid of some of them real fast because I don't think some of them would qualify. But what we told them is just be comprehensive and just put them all on there, and then we will whittle it down.
That makes sense. And so that's what probably right at the start, the committee will be addressing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have something to put in front of them from day one. And then we can start working on the little softer ones and so on and so forth.
That's great. I think that's really a great direction to move.
Yep.
Right.
Great. Any additional questions for Chris? If I can't see your video, just say hand up.
You can use the hand up. You can just click on the raise your hand as well, and that would work.
Okay. I don't see anyone doing that. So I'm going to say that Chris has answered everyone's question.
Michelle.
Yes,
Michelle, I can see Laird's got his hand up.
I would say I can't see it from my end because I think I might not be the host. I feel like only the host can see it.
Oh.
No.
Laird.
When he just put it down, so maybe I'm lying.
Laird had his hand up.
Yeah,
Okay.
he did, didn't he, Chris? He doesn't now.
Laird, would you like to address something? Can you hear us? If we can't hear you. If you're speaking, type a message.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. No, I didn't have a question. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I think that's it from for Chris. Thank you so much for speaking to all of that. And that looks like it's everything for our communications. I guess we'll go to other business now. Doesn't look like there's anything under there, but does anyone have other business?
Wanda Heimbecker here.
Hi, Wanda.
I did at the beginning of the meeting ask for a new item to be added, which is Canadian Garden Council promotion. So I just wanted to share, only because we have been invited to set up a provincial garden promotion. So what we have done that with the Canadian Garden Council, and in turn, we've linked up with the Norfolk tourism website. So it certainly promotes Norfolk County, and it taps into all the different venues and destinations that a visitor may want to choose from. And so I don't know if there is someone in the tourism office who is on the phones responding to tourist inquiries. I know we've also identified that we can custom plan those experiences with visitors coming into our municipality. and certainly guide them to different venues depending on their preference. So I wanted to share that and also ask Chris if there is staffing that is taking any of those inquiries and what those inquiries look like if you are fielding a lot of calls and emails right now.
Yes, so I field all the calls. So I answer the 1-800 number. I have to respond to the tourism inquiries and so on. And then I try to redirect them. We will have some assistance in the department soon. It has been kind of difficult to be handling land sales and signage and everything all at once. But it is gonna come together now that Brandon is here, and we have an ad out, and we'll be doing a hire soon. And I think we're going to be getting some temporary help as well, because the tourism program actually requires that we have a dedicated person for the activities that grant is for, and so we're going to put that in place. So you will see how that changes over the next couple of weeks. However, I think one of the main concern is just the division in the community as to, are you going to really swing the door open and say, come on in, we are open for business? Or are we going to still be cautious? And even when I have a weekly meeting with to discuss the funding, the grant funding, and it's every Tuesday, and with all the other 26 municipalities, they face the same challenge where they're saying their residents are up in arms about inviting people into their community. I mean, they are exercising every caution to ensure that they keep this virus at bay, and they are going to put money in to the Globe and Mail and people in Toronto to come on in and so on. And so part of the strategy is that we're going to be rolling out the promotions in phases. And phase one is what they call hyper local. And so you will be seeing in the Simcoe Reformer that we've bought some ads and so on, and it's all about buy local. You need to support your local restaurants because they need us to buy. If our businesses are getting our support, then we're doing two things at once. We are ensuring that the business gets the support it needs, and we are ensuring that people from outside we don't have to rely so heavily on people coming in. So the other thing is, the other phase is what they call regional, and what the ministry is saying is it's like adjoining municipalities. So it might be Brant and Holliman and yourself, and they are anticipating that by September, October, by September or thereabouts, we should be out of the woods to the extent that we can say, listen, this is the shoulder season, here are the things that we want. And then in the middle of the fall is when we have this road show, and we have to all be a part of it, and it's all about Ontario, and saying, come on into Ontario. Now, we don't know what this virus is going to be. Right now, we think everything was going smooth and getting less and less, and all of a sudden there's a big party and 200 people over the weekend, and nobody knows where this thing is going to go, and then you hear that there are outbreaks here and there. So every time that we've got this feel that, okay, I think we can kind of open up a bit, then you hear about these outbreaks, and then it's like, oh my goodness, are we going to be right back to where we started, like the States? So it is very difficult to try and market in this environment. It is so difficult. So, but we take the guidance from our weekly meetings with the ministry, and they say, listen, this is where we're at. This is what our data is telling us. This is what the information is telling us. Let's tweak it this way or whatever. So hopefully, though, we keep a lid on it, because I think we've been doing very well in Ontario, and then we can start entertaining people from Toronto and other places. It's a delicate dance.
I just have a quick question. Sorry, did someone say something? Wanda, was that you?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought someone just said something. I just have a quick question just about, is there a plan to recover from our not so great image and not being welcoming image to the rest of Ontario that we have definitely developed to a certain extent in my opinion, in Norfolk County compared to a lot of other counties? Is there any kind of talk about that on how we can kind of, we used to be seen as a very welcoming area, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I think that we've done a lot of damage to our image in that sense, much more so than a lot of other counties. I'm not sure if it's even rightly so, because I mean, we didn't open up with the rest of the province, so what are we so scared of other people for? But like that aside, has there been any talk about how to give us a little PR facelift with that kind of thing? Because I don't think many places see us as that friendly right now.
Yes, that's a big part of the discussion. And perception is reality. We were fortunate in that we, on a regular basis, would get 1,100,000 visitors every year. Last year was 1,150,000. And what is going to happen is, when this is all over, let's say by next summer, let's assume next summer everything is back to normal, what will happen to those people who really wanted to come and they said, oh, well, the washroom is not open in Port Dover or wherever, so it's closed. And even though, believe me, the bulk of the calls that I answer every single day is the beach, is the Long Pond Beach open, is the Port Dover Beach open, and so on. That is the bulk of the calls, most of them. I mean, and I tell you, dozens of calls, and can we visit here, and so on. And luckily for us, we have the COVID line that I direct them and say, and over there they say, yes, you can come, but here's the things that we are asking you to observe, and here's how we're treating with your garbage or this. So they give them a spiel about coming, but being responsible and so on. But I worry, Michelle, that unless we do something to kind of change the narrative and say, okay, we're get put on our welcoming face again, that it will probably linger a bit after we've read through this thing.
And don't take this as I'm just talking towards council. This is like online as well from members of the community, a huge amount of members of the community. It's not it's kind of everyone. Like I've seen a lot of severe poison online towards people from outside our community, which really confuses me. But I think that there's as much a public campaign of getting people in the county to accept visitors as there is to making visitors want to come, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Can I jump in there too?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I think it's an education to our residents to know how important the tourism is. And if they want to be self-centered about it, because I'm on the real estate side too, they don't realize the impact it can have on their own housing. You know, we are hiring all their kids. We are hiring their friends and family. We are making the value of their homes go up because our businesses and that are successful, or because we're friendly and that. That's why places like Stratford, Niagara on the Lake, and all of them are also great, and even Prince Edward County, because they are welcoming. They've got a strategy to welcome people, and so then their prices just keep skyrocketing. So we need to educate the residents that the tourists aren't bad. Probably everybody else sitting here will say that 80% of our business done is from outsiders. There's not enough residents here to sustain it.
Yes.
Is there been any like statistical information about how many of the cases even came from outside our community?
Not sure about that.
Because I mean, that would be kind of important in showing that, like, in what my understanding, it's mostly community spread. So it's not coming from others.
Yeah, from what I think, when you look at the counter, like it was either like farm related or in long-term care. I don't think there was a widespread scattering of cases across the community. I think they were all kind of clustered, in whether it be a farm or a long-term care or something like that. I don't think we were as bad as some places. I think Laura has her hand up. Laura Gibson.
Oh, sorry, I can't see the hand. Laura, great.
It's okay. So kind of along that same vein on the tourism side, and it was an interesting comment that we had on one of our staff calls, was about the agriculture. Like, how are you promoting that the farm food is safe? Because the question came from our director was, is the farm sales down in communities that have had outbreaks of COVID? And I hadn't
I
really
never even thought of that.
Either had I, Michelle, and I thought that that was a really interesting perspective as I was eating corn from Norfolk, you know.
Yeah, like we might not from the community think that, but obviously that would probably be addressed from people coming from outside of the community.
Yeah, so I thought that that was really interesting. And how do you promote that part of it, you know? Like, and it kind of ties into the tourism, because if people are going down, and we talked about that, they're on their way home from the lake. You know, my father-in-law lives just off 24 in Norfolk, and you see all the people, and they're going home, and are they not stopping at the farm stands because they're worried that it's not safe? Like that didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, and actually,
How
I
do you
mean,
promote that?
yeah, and this is Nick, so I can't say unequivocally for all, but generally speaking, the feedback that I've been hearing is that our farm markets have been super busy during all of this. People have been wanting to go there instead of to the supermarket. So I know originally there might have been some contracts that may have been shrunk or canceled or whatever when there were some unknowns around that, but I have not heard that lately. So I think before we go on that tangent, like it would be good to verify that that still exists, because as far as I know, like our farm markets have been doing really well. The ones that I've spoken to, you know, some of them have had four times as many clients as they normally do. And, you know, they hope to retain some of those going forward, right? So, so I don't know. I think it needs to be verified before getting too deep into that.
Can I jump in again? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not in farming at all, but my boyfriend works for the Shabatura farms, and in some of those huge farms, they are totally supplying grocery stores, and as you know, they're going crazy. So I think farming all in all is doing quite well. They're having really good years, but there are pockets, as I listen to the news and stuff, that, for instance, potatoes are down because the restaurants weren't buying for fries. And now I'm hearing that peanuts are going to be down because there aren't people in the stands for baseball games and things like that. So I think there are some pockets, but from what I understand, the farms are doing pretty well.
Ian, did you just put up your hand, or did I just see something in the screen? Oh, a thumbs up?
Yes.
Hey there, I think I saw Laird actually had raised his hand here, but I did share just a link in the chat there. Peter Mansbridge did a little bit of a tourism plug for Stratford, and I thought it hit all the right notes. And it speaks to a lot of what you've said about changing the narrative, Michelle. I think it'd be worth a good watch if you haven't seen it already.
I was like super tempted to click the link, and I'm like, oh no, that's rude. We're in a meeting. So as soon as this is over, I'm going to watch it. Great. Okay. Anyone else have any feedback on that subject?
I think Laird has his hand up.
Great. Okay. I can't see hands. So Laird, go ahead. We can't hear you.
It might have been Laura then.
It's not Laura.
Okay. I assume he'll interject. If you get it working and you have a question, just interject, Laird. Okay, so is there any other business? Any other business that anyone has?
Yeah, so I did.
Great.
Just that, and I'll put it in the chat. There is a provincial government economic impact survey, which closes August 31st. So I think it doesn't take too long. I just did it just before the meeting. And I think, your feedback would be extremely important, not only from committee members, I guess, but also from the county's end of things, and as well from the organizations that you belong to. If you could share it with them and get them to have their input as well. So they want to hear about the economic impacts that the COVID-19 outbreak is having on business and the community. And so that will help the policy folks develop and plan for economic recovery. So I will share if I can, and hopefully you get that. If you want, I can put it in email too, but maybe it could be in the minutes as well.
I have been copying all the links that were in the meeting chat, so I might just circulate them all after the fact.
Thank you.
They may not have much context, but I'll just send them just so nobody else has to all copy them all.
Thank you.
Unless things were added before I joined the meeting, because I can't see those, but I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 now. Great, thank you, Nick. That is great. I will definitely do that. I was just wondering, Jacob, is Jacob? Yes, I can see him. I was wondering if we could start if you look back into meetings, I guess at the start of the year or last year, we used to have an action item. Can't remember what it's called. Does anyone remember the name of it?
It's like an action grid or something.
Yeah, it was like an action grid. It was like a
list,
chart of
I think.
things to do and that what we've done and their status. I'd like to get that added in for the next one, and I think you could add in the motion just so we kind of have a summary of what is in the works, what's been approved, and what's going on. Sure. I'd like to add in the motion that we put forward to the county, like the I guess support for the paid parking would be good to add in there, just saying, sent to the county, or if we're waiting on something or whatever. There was also feedback on capital projects for the Economic Recovery Task Force. So if everybody could, if you have any, don't feel any pressure if you don't have any, but if you have any, could you put a deadline on that for maybe send this Friday, and then you have time to circulate it at some point next week once you get them together? Yes. And I think that's all I noticed from this meeting. Does anybody else have anything else from a previous meeting that we should have on there, or? No. And Chris and Ian, I know that last year there was in multiple meetings, there was, a review of the budget, there was a review of the grants, a review of any of those stuff. Obviously this year's a little, up in the air and different timelines possibly, but is there anything we need to keep on our radar for important meetings moving forward, where we'll be either reviewing the budget, reviewing any, like an action plan, reviewing like grants or anything like that? My guess would be the grant program is maybe canceled this year, but I don't know.
Yeah, so oftentimes we would come to you for assistance. It might be the sub-program to select the kids, or it might be with the application for the grants and so on. Because we don't know what's happening, usually we can slot them in and say, this is happening at this time. Mm-hmm. I'm not able to do that now, but as soon as they become available, that we know, okay, we're going to do this, then I'll ensure that it comes to the committee, and then it can go on the tracking sheet.
Great.
We won't.
Yeah, I think it would be great to have it on the tracking sheet, just so we can all have a little bit of an overview of what might be happening at each meeting, so we can see, if we have some stuff that's not super urgent to add it to a different meeting or anything like that. And if someone really, if it's really important if I felt it was really important that I really wanted to be part of the budget discussion, I'd make sure that no matter what, I was able to attend that meeting, those kind of things.
Right.
That would be great. Yeah. Awesome. Anything else anybody else has for other business? Ian, was that a hand or just a piece of paper moving in front of the screen?
I was a piece of paper. I'm always multitasking. Okay. But
okay,
I actually want to just, welcome Laird and Laura. Maybe we could have done that in the ceremonial activities. I can't recall. Were they at our previous meeting? Time's just all blurring together now. But...
Oh, sorry, Laura. Are you you're a committee member?
I have been invited in the past, not on a regular basis. So.
Okay.
So Laura
I know we had a few new appointments.
Sorry, I missed the important first 10 minutes, so I'm sorry.
It's okay, because Michelle knows who I am, so she's.
So Laura, Nick, they are our business partner resource personnel. So anything to do with the ministry and so on, that is where we would get a lot of the information from. So they have always been a part of TDAB. They might be non-voting, but they're always invited.
Yeah, and I knew that about both of them, but I wasn't sure if Laura had switched to a voting or something like that. So I do know, I do know Laura, but I just wasn't sure if something had switched just on that.
Right.
And Venture Norfolk is the same thing.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, do you guys have timelines for replacing the 2 committee members as well as the youth member if we're still going that route?
That's a very good question.
We've dwindled in numbers quite substantially.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know that it was accepted by council and everything that we invited youth to join the board, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe that.
I guess we need to put that as one of the action items because, to be honest, I just came into the chair and some of those things that might have been in discussion will fall through if we don't have them on the tracking sheet.
Absolutely, yeah. So I would assume it'd be the most convenient to do that when we're also replacing the 2 committee members that aren't on the board anymore. That were elected, but
that's something Jacob usually helps out with in terms of the membership.
Yeah, so how do we make it happen? Like, how do we open applications? Do we do that, or is that like from the county, or how does that happen?
I'll have to double check with my colleague Owen, but I believe that we do some advertising as well.
Okay.
I'm still fairly new to the position and these sorts of things, but that's my understanding is yes, we can do some advertising and try and get the word out that way.
Great. Yeah. So just kind of timelines for that added in once we have them would be awesome. Because I think it would just be nice to have a little bit, like just a couple more voices, like in the group from like community members. Because we're kind of like not much above like quorum, I guess, at this point with even the number of people that we have. So.
So what I will suggest is that Jacob, we would have a list of people who would have submitted their resume and so on and so forth. That not all of them might have been selected. We could go back to that list that they have already. They were already interested in being a part of the TDAB. They would have already been sent to council and so on. We probably look at that list as well, and then then we could extend it to advertising again.
That would be a great idea. That's a great idea. But yeah, I would love if everything has been approved for the youth member for that to just kind of happen at the same time, because I really think it would be nice to have a younger voice on the committee. I really like when we did the economic development or the tourism review, when I was on that group, there was someone that was like a high school student on the group, and it was just very valuable, kind of very different viewpoint from the rest of us, which I found really, really helpful to have kind of a fresh take on things for people someone who doesn't have, a lot of experience in business or anything like that, to see it from a little different perspective, I thought was very helpful. So I'd love to have that kind of fulfilled sooner rather than later. Great. Any other business from anybody else?
No.
Nope. Okay. So I think we are then done. So our next meeting looks like it'll be August 24th via Microsoft Teams at 5 p.m. Are there any plans? Is it kind of we're just indefinitely staying with video, or is there any talk of going back to in-person meetings? Like I assume not anytime soon, but is there any talk of that, or we're just kind of this is the format kind of for the next foreseeable future?
I think this is going to be our decision. If you guys think that this forum works better for you, I don't see, Councillor, I don't think that we'd have an issue with it. If the majority wants to go back to meeting in person when it's safe to do so, I think we're equally open. I mean, we appreciate the fact that you guys are volunteering, so whatever works best for you, we are more than happy to accommodate.
Okay. Maybe could everybody just send some private feedback maybe to Jacob on that? And because we could all have very different reasons of why we'd want one or the other. Would that be okay? And then he can maybe like amalgamate it and see if there's a consensus.
Right, and we could probably do a hybrid. That's how we're going to do the insert. So we're going to have a group in the room because there are some people that wants to come and meet in person. So we have the socially distanced in the room, and then there will be others that will join, almost like how we do it in council. So you might have that here to a kind of a hybrid where those who prefer to do it virtually continues and so on. I think, to be honest, that there will be a lot of changes at the county in terms of how we do business going forward, because we have realized that we can efficiently operate without necessarily doing all these travels and driving and so on. So, so going forward on a hybrid might be something that is totally acceptable.
Great. Okay, so that sounds good. So anyone else have any feedback on anything, or are we ready to adjourn? Okay, I think we're ready to adjourn. So yeah, next meeting, August 24th via Microsoft Teams at 5 p.m. And if anybody has any action, what is our deadline for sending agenda items to you, Jacob? Or Jacob? A week before, 2 weeks before?
Yeah, I'll generally send a shoot it out probably the Thursday prior to the meeting.
Okay. Great. So so if anybody has anything to add in the future, let's try and add it a week before. It would be great if everybody could see what any of the added items are in advance. I think just because I think we're going to get into like in the next upcoming months with so much changing, the agenda might get quite a bit busier. So yeah. And then I guess meeting adjourned. Nice to see some of you and talk to the rest of you. And hope you're all, oh, I like your new background. Brandon. Yeah, it's great. So I still haven't figured out how to do that. I feel very like whoever said I was a youth member, when you said I was a youth member of committee, I'm like, I can't even figure out how to change a background on a Zoom or anything else. So I don't feel young. But anyways.
Super easy, Michelle.
That's fun.
So if you just go to those three buttons in the middle of your bar that has the microphone and so on.
Show background effect. There we go.
All right, yeah.
And you just go up to your background. Yeah, and then you're good. So that's your menu. You select from your menu, matter whatever you want.
Okay, cool. All right. Next time I'll have something really funny for you guys. I can promise.
I like your background, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm at my parents' cottage right now. So.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Sorry.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye, everybody.
If you need any help,
thanks so much.
Have
a great night,
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
See you in a month. Laura, I liked your send off.
Yay. All done. What's for dinner? Oh.
We're all done our meeting.
What's for supper?
It's gonna take like a little time for my family to get the plans together.